Hello, young readers. Thanks for stopping by today on my read along. My name is Carolyn Lee, and this is my second book, Maxzyne and the Old Horse Theater. It's the second in a series about Maxzyne, who is the protagonist. And I'm going to start with chapter 1 today and hope you enjoy reading along with me. Let's go. So chapter 1, The Sketch of Doom. The door to classroom 108 closes behind Maxzyne Merriweather with a soft whoosh of air. It's so weird that school could ever be this quiet. Her stomach trembles as she looks up and down the hall lined with lockers. Empty. If only the paper in her hand were an ordinary restroom pass. She blinks, willing the page to disappear, but it stays in her shaking hand. There is no denying the awful reason for her early dismissal from Miss Garrett's weekly music class. She sighs, twisting the offending piece of paper. Shiny lead pencil markings smudge her fingers. No way, it's my fault. She bites her bottom lip, but her conscience pricks. Okay, well, yes, it is my sketch. What a rookie mistake, she chides herself. But there's a 5-syllable word for this problem. Her slim brown fingers automatically count the syllable beats as she whispers. Extenuating circumstances. She glares at her gray-tinged fingers. Nope. She won't get off easy by making excuses. Besides, her punishment will be a lot worse than having to memorize a big vocabulary word. That's her parents' usual form of discipline for doing something wrong. Her lunch curdles in her stomach. What will they do now that she's been sent to the principal's office? One problem at a time, she reminds herself. That's what her dad always says. Especially when he gets home after a crazy day at work and her mother insists he help his daughter with her science project before dinner. Although this is much worse than a last-minute school deadline. Last minute on her end, of course. Last minute because she's been playing with her new kaleidoscopic computer program, drawing stuff instead of doing homework. But who wouldn't choose to discover the latest in anime rather than write a report about the organization and structure of ant colonies? Please! Except the drawing part, of course. Maxzyne always gets extra credit for her artwork. But not today. She swallows hard and trudges toward the principal's office. How do I explain the sketch, she worries. If only she hadn't drawn the music teacher quite so realistically. She stops walking and stares at the wrinkled page torn from her spiral notebook. Nope. The evidence is right there in number 2 pencil with her bold signature scrawled underneath. What was she thinking signing it? Her shoulders sag and her stomach does an anxious somersault. Maybe she's coming down with something. She quickly puts her hand on her forehead, willing a fever to brew. Hey, maybe I can claim temporary temperature insanity. Unfortunately, her forehead remains cool to the touch. No such luck. Sometimes you're such a show-off, Maxzyne, she groans. Her finger traces the familiar lines on the sketch. Yes, it really is their chubby teacher's goofy smile. That's also her bulky turtleneck and dimpled knees peeking beneath a short plaid skirt. She glares at the portrait. Her mother warned her about doodling in class. Absolutely anyone would recognize Miss Garrett as she sings and strums that ghastly auto harp. I mean, really, who plays the auto harp anyway? The 11-year-old huffs under her breath. Miss Garrett should expect to see herself in a cartoon. Doesn't she know how silly she looks? So uncool. especially those tiny feet with double-wide jelly calves squeezed into fuzzy sheepskin boots. Feet that constantly tap to the beat of those ancient folk songs she makes students sing. Blech! If only she hadn't shown Courtney Crowder the sketch. That was the beginning of the end, she recalls. It was supposed to be a joke. The cartoon was just something to distract them, okay, herself, from Miss Garrett's dopey songs. Her lip curls to one side as her conscience pricks again. Just admit it, you were showing off again. She scowls, remembering how the joke ended up being on her. All because Courtney grabbed the sketch and scribbled a mean caption underneath. Miss G's application for American Superstar. Give it back, Maxzyne had begged, mouthing the words behind her spiral notebook while keeping one eye on Miss Garrett. With a sly grin and nonchalant flip of her blonde streaked ponytail, Courtney ignored her pleas. Instead, she leaned forward to poke Frances Cooper on the shoulder. An accomplished note passer, Frances didn't even turn around. Cool as a cucumber, she smoothed her long, wavy hair behind one ear. Maxzyne watched her classmate rest her rhinestone-studded fingers on the back of her neck. Voila! The sketch dropped into her waiting fingers. Frances pretended to cough, bringing her hand toward her mouth. Then she smiled straight at their teacher and dropped the note into her lap, quickly unfolding it. Her shoulders shook with laughter as she viewed the sketch with Courtney's caption scrawled on it. Seconds later, she passed it on, as Maxzyne's heart fluttered in her chest. She held her breath, fearing disaster as the sketch moved forward along the row of bored students. Her eyes darted sideways, daring to see if Miss Garrett noticed. For that moment, at least, their teacher was oblivious. She strummed the autoharp, her voice wobbling toward the high notes of a folksy chorus. For a second or two, Miss Garrett's eyes closed, the freckles on her nose crinkling as she strained her vocal cords. The tendons in her pale neck knotted alarmingly the louder she sang. Maxzyne joined in, desperately hoping the teacher wouldn't notice that nearly everyone had stopped singing. Around her, the sketch continued from desk to desk, each time earning a snicker from her classmates. Why didn't I just stick to drawing the carriage horses I sometimes see outside the classroom window? She groaned silently. She glanced out the window but didn't see any carriage horses carrying tourists through the historic neighborhood at the moment. Meanwhile, the sketch was on the move. She agonized while 2 rows over, Ben Williams added a 5 thumbs down rating. Not to be outdone, Matt Spencer sketched hairy stubble on their teacher's round white legs. Finally, a hippie-era headband decorated with peace signs was added to Miss Garrett's frizzy red hair by a snickering Dave Robinson. Worse, the song ended just as the altered drawing returned to Maxzyne. Too late, the real Miss Garrett sensed something was up. She looked around the room, puzzled by the snorts of laughter coming from the boys. Her eyes narrowed as she frowned, her plump cheeks growing pink. With an ominous prickle of dread, Maxzyne recognized that universal look adults sometimes get. The desperate but dazed look that crosses over their face once they realize they are no longer in charge. Uh-oh, here it comes. The Geek Squad, straight A's sitting in the front row, turned around and stared at her. Worse, a pencil eraser sailed through the air and hit her on the shoulder, bouncing off her desk. Before Maxzyne could hide the sketch, Miss Garrett was beside her. The angry teacher snatched the cartoon. Her lipstick mouth moved, opened and closed like a fish sucking algae from the green glass windows at Shed Aquarium. Darker streaks of pink crept from her cheeks and down her neck. disappearing into the loose folds of her nubby, blue-striped turtleneck. The other students held their breath, thrilled by the spectacle. Miss Garrett flicked her tongue and then somehow managed to stretch her lips into a false smile. Maxzyne slumped even lower in her seat. For once, she dreaded the spotlight. The smell of Miss Garrett's lavender body lotion was wafting in waves from her warm, flushed skin. Gee, isn't lavender supposed to be calming? Maybe she won't get so mad after all? "You'll need to show this to the principal, Miss Merriweather," the teacher ordered in a crisp, take-no-prisoners voice. With both hands on her hips, Miss Garrett glared up and down the desk rows. None of the students lifted their eyes to meet her gaze. Annoyed, she clapped her hands for attention. "Class, unless someone wants to join Maxzyne, let's get back to the musical arts, shall we?" She cleared her throat and marched back to her auto harp at the front of the classroom. There was the scrape of metal chair legs on tile as Maxzyne pushed away from the desk. With shaking hands, she closed her spiral notebook. Her favorite pencil, with its red, white, and blue Statue of Liberty torch eraser, rolled across her desk and fell to the floor. Her dusky face burned as she slowly stood, clutching her backpack. Around her, the class tittered. Frances retrieved the rolling pencil from the floor. Maxzyne reached to take it, but Miss Garrett gave her a withering glance and pointed at the door. Her steely eyes and the arch of her red, thinly penciled brows said she meant business. Maxzyne shuffled out the door, knowing somebody would pay for all this classroom drama. "It's my name on the sketch." She drags her thoughts back to the present and looks down the deserted hallway. Yikes! The principal's office. Her stomach twists and she burps fish sticks and broccoli from lunch. Ew! Other than that time she threw up on Alvin Peterson in second grade and the school nurse had to call home, the principal's office is unfamiliar territory. She trudges forward. Her shoulders sag as her mind races. Maybe she can convince Principal Farwell not to tell her parents. As if. Even if she just gets detention after school, her mother will be waiting to pick her up. She'll know instantly when her daughter doesn't show up out front. Her mother will put this in the category of very bad behavior, unbecoming to a young lady your age. Just thinking about it makes her chew the inside of her lower lip. She gasps. Even worse, tonight is Chicago's Festival of Lights holiday parade. No way she'll get to go if the school principal is involved. Her heart sinks as reality sets in. Will I be suspended just for a stupid drawing? Her brain freezes, refusing to imagine the worst. She quickly stuffs the offending sketch into the pocket of her khaki pants. I'm in way more trouble than pencil smudges on my school uniform. How do I get out of this mess? Muffled notes from Miss Garrett's auto harp drift into the hallway through the vertical window pane in the door. The class is singing again. Maxzyne swings her red canvas backpack over her shoulder with resolve. Time to face the real music, Principal Falwell. She strides toward the opposite end of the 3-story building. To the right sits her locker, number 316. No point stowing her backpack until she knows what is going to happen. She looks wistfully at the bulletin board announcements posted outside Miss Miranda's Spanish classroom. The tutoring schedule has several names penciled in the blanks. Her eyes slide past the Spanish sign-up sheet. They focus on a poster of tonight's Festival of Lights parade featuring the school's majorettes. Sheesh! Maxzyne glares at the smiling troop of girls in their school colors, gold and navy sequin bodysuits with knee-high white patent leather boots, batons raised in a star-shaped arc. At lunch earlier, Courtney Crowder had the whole table gaga about being in tonight's holiday spectacle. Show off. Maxzyne fumes, recalling Courtney's reenactment of the tryouts when she and 4 other girls earned a spot on their Chicago Alderman's Parade float. Of course, it might have been that ponytail twisting her classmate did when Alderman O'Malley was a guest speaker in their civics class last month. He definitely paid attention when Courtney mentioned her uncle's drugstore chain and parade fund contribution. She'll be on TV tonight and I'll be grounded till the new year, I bet. The sudden flash of jealousy makes her burp fish again. Yuck. She passes the double doors of the cafeteria and wrinkles her nose. There is a whiff of leftover chili, fish sticks, soggy carrots, overcooked broccoli, and steam-cleaned trays. His back to her, Mr. Purcell, the friendly school custodian, pushes a gray mop across the floor. He patiently adds to the already huge pile of dirty napkins, striped straws, and empty milk cartons on the linoleum. Afraid to admit where she's going and why, she walks faster. Grown-ups. Crime and punishment. The principal's office. On second thought, I'm already doomed. Why rush? She slows down, escape plans hatching faster than seagulls on Navy Pier in the spring. Her suede sneakers squeak along the polished floor in the hallway, each step making her consider the impossible. What if I don't go to Principal Farwell's office? Her eyes dart to the wall. A shiny red fire alarm next to the matching fire extinguisher beckons. Last year, one of the 6th grade boys broke the glass and pulled the alarm just to get out of taking a test. No, don't even think it. By the time the police and fire trucks left, he was in a lot more trouble than an F on his math exam, she recalls. Definitely suspended. Probably kicked out of school. Who gets kicked out of school for doodling in music class, she groans. Worried, she stops to nibble the end of a slender braid. When she realizes it, she tosses the braid away disgusted. She stopped chewing her braids in kindergarten. Why couldn't she have been caught doing her math homework instead of drawing Miss Garrett? Then she wouldn't need an excuse or an escape plan. Maxzyne walks on. To her right is the side entrance containing the school's handicapped ramp and oversized doors. In less than 2 hours, this corridor will be filled with the sound of slamming lockers, and buses will be lined up at the curb outside. Everyone will be excited about the parade later on Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. Where will she be? Locked down. Better enjoy this last minute of freedom then. Maxzyne leans on the metal and glass exit door, careful not to push it open. Her breath clouds the rectangular glass window pane as she stares out at the bleak, windswept street. Wait, what's this? She rubs the misty cloud she made on the cold glass, not quite believing her eyes. Is that one of the carriage horses galloping straight for the school sidewalk? She frowns, puzzled. What could be wrong? A shiny white carriage with plush burgundy seats swings wildly behind the galloping black horse. Strangely, there is nobody in the carriage or guiding the horse. As if to confirm her thoughts, the horse suddenly veers right. Too late, the bouncing carriage clatters over the sidewalk curb. The huge, sweating animal rises on 2 powerful back legs and is forced to stop. Maxzyne stares at the rear carriage wheel on the right side nearest to her window. The frantic horse has wedged the tall, old-fashioned wheel into the metal slot of an empty bike rack. Through the thick window glass, she hears the trapped horse whinny in frustration. He is determined to keep moving. She watches the horse ply the air with both front legs heaving forward. Unable to break loose, the majestic animal tosses his head and his front hooves slam back to the ground. With each desperate lunge, she worries he might get hurt. In a flash, Maxzyne pushes through the exit door, her red backpack swinging on one shoulder as she runs to the horse. The cold winter air shocks her, despite the long-sleeved navy polo shirt embroidered with the school's gold crest she's wearing. No time for goosebumps. I've got to help this horse. So that's chapter 1. I'm going to also read you a couple of questions from the book discussion guide, which is in the back of the book for chapter 1. So these are some things that you could think about. So why is Maxzyne sent to the principal's office? Do you agree with her reasoning that no way, it's my fault? Do you think she did anything wrong? Why did she draw the picture in the first place? And why did she show it to her classmate Courtney? Maxzyne gets caught by the teacher in part because she put her name on the drawing. Why does an artist or craftsperson put his or her name on a creation? Her parents make her memorize a big vocabulary word as punishment when she's done something wrong. Is that a fair punishment? Why or why not? And finally, Maxzyne does not care for folksy songs. So why would the music teacher have chosen such music for the class? So thanks again for joining me today. That concludes chapter 1, reading and discussion, and I hope you'll join me again as we go through the chapters of the book. If you have any other questions for me, please let me know. You can email me through the website maxzyne.com, and also you can follow us a little bit on Instagram. It's Maxzyne 2014. So signing out for today, keep reading and keep writing too.